YouTube? What's going on? It's Father Dark here bright and early on Sunday morning, just recording a little video. So, from the thumbnail, I think it's pretty obvious. We're going to be talking about Naughty Dog's new game that they just showed the trailer for a couple days back at the Game Awards. I didn't necessarily watch it. I didn't see the trailer until later. And, the reason why I even watched it to begin with was because pretty much my whole timeline on Twitter is filled up with nothing but people just going in on this game, which it's becoming a very kind of like constant thing in gaming now. I mean, it's just kind of the nature of the internet and people, having their voice and their opinions and stuff. And, as a preface to what I'm about to say and in the rant that I'm about to go into, I just want to say that, I don't have a problem with anyone, as a minority myself, if you've seen my streams or any of the videos where I do show my face, a lot of these videos I don't, just because, it's more focusing on me just kind of talking about the situation at hand. But, if you have seen me before, I'm clearly a mixed individual, white, black, Native American. So, obviously anything that I'm about to say, there is no racial animosity or toward any groups of people. I believe that everyone is, attractive to someone, no matter what you look like, shape, size, whatever. There's somebody out there that loves that and loves you, whatever. So I just kind of wanted to preface that by saying that. So because some of the points that I might make, some people might think, oh, well, you're coming for this group or you're saying this particular thing. And the thing is here on this channel, the father in my name is because I am a father, right? I'm a father to boys and to girls. I'm a husband, so I try to talk to you all like how I would talk to my children, right? How I would talk to my wife or close friends or anything like that. I try to be objective, but I'm also pragmatic when it comes to situations in life. That's just kind of how my brain works. I'm very kind of like a computer where I just kind of take the information and I output, the response. 2 plus 2 to me equals 4, regardless of if I wanted to equal 6, 7, 8, or 9. It just equals 4, right? So if I observe certain scenarios and situations in the real world and how people respond to them, even if I don't personally agree with that or it's not something that I necessarily care about, I am aware of how it affects, the outcome of certain situations and stuff. So I just kind of wanted to preface that, with that prior to me going into the, like I normally do in regards to stuff like this, the little tangent or rant, whatever you want to call it, that I'm about to go into. So nonetheless, let's go ahead and just get into it. So Naughty Dog releases this trailer and they preemptively, I didn't know this ahead of time. I know they turned the comments off to the video, but I didn't know this, but I was reading an article and actually said they turned off the comments before even releasing the video. And I think it's because they're kind of aware of the, let's say, like gaming climate nowadays and how people are going to respond to certain things ahead of time based off of previous instances of games being released and how people respond to them, whether they be good or bad. So, they turned off the comments to this trailer and, obviously people kind of went in the direction that they went into. Lately in games, whenever there's a female protagonist and they don't fit a certain type of narrative for, a certain type of gamers, people respond, the way they respond. You have your trolls, but then you have people that are just genuinely kind of like, what is this, right? And, what I find interesting about it, and there's also another thing I want to talk about too, because the term that gets thrown around nowadays is woke, right? And what's interesting about woke is that, I'm in my 30s, right? So it's like growing up, when people use the word woke, it doesn't have the same meaning now as it used to. When people used to say woke, it wasn't necessarily used as an insult or something to put people down. It used to be that when people said something was woke, they meant like you basically weren't a sheep. You were someone who was, I remember people, they'd be like, oh, stay woke, man, stay woke, and that meant like basically know what's going on, do your own research and be aware of things that people might try to lie to you about or influence you adversely. Whereas now people use woke to describe pretty much anything where people try to like include diversity or the main character of a game isn't, what people like look forward to or whatever, whatever the case may be. But nonetheless, though, this game, it starts out, well, the trailer starts out, and it has this girl. I don't know what the girl's name is, but she's literally like shaving her head, right? And she has this very kind of, I really don't know how to like necessarily like describe it, but a lot of people they were like, oh well, she's shaving her head and she's like slurping a drink and she's being real sassy and stuff, right? Okay, whatever. Nonetheless, though, regardless of like how I feel about stuff like that personally, and let me just say that personally, for me, games, I don't look at a game and go, how attractive are the characters in this game to me? Because like I said before, being attractive is completely different to different people. What I find attractive and what any of you that are listening might find attractive will completely differ. Me and my friends, all the time, they'll send me a picture and they'll say, yo, man, this girl, she's smoking hot, whatever. And I go, she's whatever. And then I might see a chick and I think, oh, well, she's very attractive. And other people that I know may not agree, right? It's the same thing with all of us. You could talk to, if you're a guy, you could go out and talk to 20 girls and half of them might think, you're super attractive. The other half might not be interested, right? And vice versa. So it's all like just an opinion to different people, right? But still though, when I'm playing a game or when I'm going to play a game, I don't necessarily look at characters and say, well, I don't find this character attractive, so I'm not going to play this game. That's not how like I base if I'm going to play a game or not. If I'm going to play a game, it has to be like fun for me. I could be playing as an I know it sounds crazy, but I could be playing as a giraffe, right? If the gameplay is fun, then I don't care. See, this channel, it's primarily a Call of Duty channel, but when topics like this come out or situations like this come out, I make exceptions and I talk about them because they are trending things and things that people are interested in. So like I was saying, that Call of Duty is like my main go-to game. I play lots of other games, but that's like what I primarily like, kind of focus on. I don't really prefer single-player games. I'll play them from time to time. I like Dark Souls. I played Starfield when it came out, etc. Right? But even then, I only play them for a short period of time, and I usually play them in like the down seasons of like COD, where there's not much content and stuff like that. And then I go right back to COD as soon as there's a new season or whatever. And you take a game like COD, for example, I don't personally care what the operators look like. Usually I'm playing first-person games, so I don't really care what that person looks like or whatever. I guess it's more relevant like in third-person games because you actually have to look at the individual. But even in a third-person game, I don't care. If the game itself is fun, it's not a bother to me. But like I said at the beginning of the video, I am aware that other people do care about those things because it's something that is just so talked about, right? Of course, you have a genre of people that don't care, but if they're the minority, then what are we really doing, right? And the thing is that games are a business. At the end of the day, that's what they are. People are not out here making games for the fun of it. These are giant businesses, like billion-dollar businesses that are making these games. They have investors, and the investors at the end of the day don't care about the politics and all that kind of stuff and how to make you feel, all that, etc. The only thing they care about is making their investment back. That's the whole point of making an investment. You put something into something, and you want to not just make back what you put into it, but you want to make as much as you possibly can. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times the amount that you put into it, right? So, the game that gets talked about a lot is like Concord, right? Concord came out, and once again, I'm objective, but at the same time, I'm also extremely pragmatic. So for me, I just look at these situations and go kind of like I can almost predict how this is, like the outcome of it from just using common sense, right? So you take a game like Concord, which everybody's been talking about, all the failure of Concord, et cetera, right? And then you look at what happened with Concord, right? So I think I have it pulled up. I think that, let's see, what was their budget? So they had a $400 million budget, right? That is an insane amount of money to put into a game. And I think they said they had been working on this game for like 8 years or some crazy amount of time like that, right? And you think about that, and you think that there's a lot of factors that went into it, right? So they said, a lot of people have said like, oh, well, it was a hero shooter, and hero shooters, it's kind of like a saturated market, and they were also on their way out. Well, if you think about it logically, and you're being fair, Marvel Rivals just came out. Marvel Rivals has a crazy amount of concurrent players. I think it's like 400,000 people are like playing the game concurrently or something like that. And Overwatch is suffering, and Overwatch is probably one of the most successful hero shooters out there currently, and one of the most well-known and stuff like that, and well-liked as far as characters and stuff. But then Marvel Rivals came out and completely took it over. And I have to say, from somebody who's been playing it for the last week, I took a long break from COD to play it. I mean, you can see that from the last couple of videos that I uploaded. I've been really enjoying it. And what's funny about it is I'm not even a hero shooter kind of guy. I don't usually like those games. I played Overwatch numerous times because close friends and family members of mine really enjoy the game. And it was something that we could agree on because they're not into Call of Duty. So, that's usually how I am, right? Like I'll kind of bite the bullet and say, hey, you know what? I'll play what you guys want to play just for the, the camaraderie and stuff, right? And then I'll go back to my game. But I never really enjoyed Overwatch. It was very slow, very clunky for me. Didn't really like it. It was all right. I'm not saying it's a bad game or anything. It's just it wasn't my style. You know what I mean? Whereas Marvel Rivals, completely up my alley. Love Marvel Rivals. Think the game's perfect. Obviously, it's not necessarily perfect, but in comparison to how much fun I wasn't having with Overwatch, it feels like it's a perfect game in comparison for me, right? And you have to ask yourself, why did Concord fail where Marvel Rivals is successful? And I know a lot of people might make the argument that it was because Marvel is so established and so many people know the characters and love the characters. I mean, they've been out for twice, these characters have been out for over twice the amount of time that I've even been alive, right? And pretty much anybody who's watching these videos has been alive, right? So they already are like an established IP. That's one thing, but Overwatch was a brand new IP, wildly successful, right? And I think I just have to be honest here, like looking at the character designs, because, I did go back and I looked at the characters again. They're kind of hard to look at, if I'm just being honest with you. And a lot of people are visual people. I mean, most of us as human beings are visual people, right? Like that can be something that's very attractive to you, the whole aesthetic of a game. I know me personally, the 80s is like my least favorite era, right? Like there's a lot of eras that I don't mind, but the 80s of all eras, I just feel like is probably my least favorite. I know a lot of people really like the 80s, but for me, it's like, just not my style. It's kind of like right there in between where, we were just kind of getting like technology, but it was very like in its infancy and the style, the way people dress, the music, just a lot of stuff I wasn't really into in regards to the 80s. So, first of all, anything that's like 80s oriented kind of is, whether it be TV shows, movies, video games, whatever, it's already kind of like turning me off. But if the game is really good, then I can kind of like look past that. But with Concord, it wasn't even like the overall aesthetic. I think like the maps and the way things look, the color schemes, all that kind of stuff are nice, but the character designs, I just felt like personally they were terrible. And there might be some people out there who look at the game and they go, oh yeah, I like these character designs, but I just feel like the majority of people were not really digging that at all. And as far as gameplay, I didn't play Concord. Like I wasn't interested in playing a hero shooter to begin with. The only reason that Marvel Rivals got me interested was because it's a Marvel game. So me personally, I was willing to make an exception and give it a try. But with Concord, I saw it. I was just kind of like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then, the whole, drama and stuff happened with the game and its release. And like I said, that kind of was like a really big point where I feel like the gaming base voted with their wallets, which is what you should do. If you don't like something overall, you should just not play it, and people will get the message. I think that Sony has learned that that's something that they a route that they shouldn't go down anymore, right? Because at the same time, you had a game like Stellar Blade come out. And with Stellar Blade, I mean, we all know they had the really skimpy outfits and stuff for it. It was a lot of customization and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not knocking the game and saying that it didn't have good gameplay or anything like that. I haven't played the game, so I can't say whether it's good or bad. And even if I was to say that, that's really just my opinion, right? The things that I don't like, there's tons of people that do like them, just like with Overwatch. It wasn't my style of game, but a whole lot of people I know and millions more really enjoyed that game and still do to this day, So that's just my opinion. But at the same time, though, like I said, Stellar Blade did phenomenal. And people voted with their wallets. They showed like, hey, we like these kind of character designs. We like this kind of gameplay or whatever it was that made them like the game and get it and just give it nothing but praise and stuff like that online. But I do feel like it's pretty much just as simple as that. If you make a game that's aesthetically pleasing, whether it be the character models, whatever, the actual gameplay, people are going to respond by liking it and playing it. Now, there's exceptions where there have been games where people, I don't necessarily feel like, The Last of Us, like people sit back and say, man, The Last of Us characters are just, so it's a post-apocalyptic kind of like game. So like everybody looks beaten down and worn down and tired and just whatever, but people love that game. That's one of the most popular games of all time. Also made, if I'm not mistaken, by, I could be wrong, but I think that's Naughty Dog as well. Nonetheless, though, the point that I'm making is that there's exceptions to it, right? If a game, it's not just about character design, but like if a game is just super fun and it's really good, then people are going to play it. They're going to buy it. They're going to ask you to make numerous remakes and remasters and all that kind of stuff of this, game or of those games. And, like I was saying before, with this game, it's not only just the character design that people are complaining about. They're also complaining about product placement. I mean, in the trailer, you're seeing all these different things. You're seeing Sony, which I believe it is a Sony game overall, like which, I think Naughty Dog is just for Sony. Could be wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure it is. You're seeing like Adidas and stuff like that. But, being objective, there's lots of games that people have liked that had product placement and stuff. I mean, you can look them up yourself, but there's lots of games that do that no one had an issue with. So I feel like personally the overall underlying issue is that you have these gamers that feel like games are becoming too woke. And when they say woke, they basically mean, hey, as gamers, the people that primarily make up, because at the same time, there are people that fit what people consider to be the woke crowd or whatever that do play games. But let's just be honest here. The majority of gamers are guys, and, they're red-blooded males. They want to sit back and they want to have something nice to look at while they're playing the game. The game is supposed to be an escape from reality, not you looking at stuff that you see every day when you go to Walmart or whatever, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just being honest here, and games that don't necessarily take that personally and give their audience what they want, they end up being successful. Games that don't, well, they deal with the consequences. You spend $400 million and your game becomes, the poster child of what not to do, and to me personally, if I'm running a business, right? Like if I start a McDonald's equivalent and I say, hey, you know what? I'm going to make French fries and pasta because I like pasta and I like French fries, and I'm going to sell these two items. And then people go, I'm not really digging that. I would prefer French fries and burgers, right? Just be McDonald's, but with a different name, basically like the equivalent of like a Wendy's or a Burger King or something, right? If I don't give people what they want, they're just going to go somewhere else and get what it is they want, So this whole like, we're going to keep doing these things regardless of what people say, and we're going to disable comments and stuff. Who is that really hurting besides you as the game studio or whatever? It's not hurting the customer base, because there will always be people who will make games that appeal to what the base actually want. So if you're thinking like, oh, well, we're going to like bully consumers into liking what we feel like they should like, you're the only one that's going to deal with the consequences from that, And I feel bad for these people because, there was a time when the whole woke thing was kind of, it's weird how things have shifted, right? Like 4 or 5 years ago, everything was you gotta be woke. You have to like this. You have to appreciate this. You have to say that you're okay with this, even if you're not okay with it. And some people were fine with that. Some people were behind that. But then you had a larger portion of people that, they might have said they were okay with it because they didn't want to be publicly bullied or, whatever. But then it got to a point where there was this massive backlash and people started coming out and just being like, no, we don't like this. This is what we like and want more of this. And if you don't give us this, we're going to let you know in the comment section or wherever we can, whatever platform, whatever, that this isn't what we're into. and times have shifted. And this game was made like 4 years ago. I think they started making it like 4 years ago. So it's kind of hard to predict where people are going to be at and what their feelings are going to be, 4 years later. That's almost impossible, right? Like to really be able to do that and understand that. But at the same time, though, in my opinion, what game studios really need to start doing is just taking everyday, like they need to have a panel of just everyday people that actually play games, that play lots of different games and buy these things, right? Not people like me where I'm more kind of closed off and I have like a niche that I'm kind of, into. I mean, that's fine. Like if that's what that niche is, right? Like if it's a new Call of Duty game, I do feel like they should have people who religiously play Call of Duty like I have for literally 2 decades now. Yeah, you should have people like me to say, okay, people are probably not going to like this, or people will probably like this, etc. But if you're making more like a general overall kind of game that you're trying to market to the general public, like the 9 to 5 everyday people that just kind of sit down on their 65-inch TV on their couch in the living room and want to play, if that's who your target audience is, then you should have a panel of those people to say, hey, is this something that you'd be interested in? And if they're like, no, what am I looking at here? This looks wild. Don't just think, well, what are they going to do? Play another game? Yes, that's exactly what they're going to do. No differently than when I looked at Concord, I was like, I'm not playing that. And I didn't need to make 1,000 posts about it or comments or videos or anything like that. I just simply saw it, thought to myself, not interested, and moved on. Simple as that. But there's a lot of people that take these things personally, and they're going to spend a lot of time talking about it, whether it be content creators or just regular everyday people who want to talk about it on social media, whatever, and like the thumbnail, that's not my personal opinion, but that is the same literal picture that I've been seeing all up and down Twitter. A picture of Stellar Blade with people going, this is what we like. A picture of Marvel Rivals and their characters and saying, this is what we like. And then a picture of this game, on the right, and people not liking it. Do I think one is better than the other one? No. You know what I mean? I haven't played either one of them. And honestly, this doesn't look like a game that I would play. I mean, we honestly haven't seen gameplay of it yet. This was just a cinematic trailer, right? So I don't know. They might come out and be like, yo, we can do all this, you can do all that, yada, yada. And I might go, hey, you know what? That actually does seem pretty cool. Let me give it a shot. But it was the same thing with Stellar Blade. Yeah, I look at Stellar Blade and I go, yeah, the girl's pretty, But at the same time, though, it wasn't enough to, just because she was pretty, it wasn't enough to make me want to play the game. That's not what goes into my decision making process when I see games. What made me want to play Starfield was nothing to do with the characters in the game or what they looked like. I mean, yeah, you can customize your own character, but at no point did I see any of the NPCs or anything like that and go, man, I got to play this game because of how attractive the characters in a fake video game are. No, it was the fact that they were like, yo, you can build your own spaceships. You can go to there's 1,000 different planets that you can explore, et cetera, all these different customizations, whatever. And that made me go, yo, that looks like that's right up my alley. I love space exploration. When I am going to play a single player game, I love open world. And you're telling me it's not just open world, it's open universe, right? You know what I'm saying? And then DLCs to come and stuff down the road. So those are the kind of things that go into my mind when I'm thinking about a video game and if I'm going to play it or whatever. But like I said, what I think and how I feel is not how everyone feels. And if I see that the majority of players for a game are feeling a certain way, well, then you kind of why not respect that as a game studio? I don't get it. What do you think is happening in games? Do you think that people are seeing, I think Marvel Rivals is a really good example. All the guys in Marvel Rivals are extremely brolic, meaning they got muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles. And while I'm a very in shape, I wouldn't say muscular, but I'm very tone and fit. At no point in time do I look at video games and go, man, that guy has so many muscles in this video game. That's an unrealistic example that they're setting for men. No, I don't care. It's a video game. Of course they're supposed to me, that's just how characters have always been. They've just been overly just brolic and buff. You know what I mean? They do nothing but just lift 24/7. Okay. Half of them are also slaying dragons and taking down giant aliens and stuff in outer space or whatever. So it's I don't care. It's a video game. I'm able to like separate a video game, a TV show, a movie from reality, you know? But I guess they feel like more people will like their game if their characters look like regular everyday people and not supermodels and guys who do nothing but bench press all day long, like 1,000 pounds. I don't know. But clearly it's not working, you know? And you got to be honest with yourself in situations like this. You have to be realistic and say, hey, you know, we might think a certain way, but what do the people that will actually be consuming our product, how do they feel? What do they think? You know, like I've said, you know, multiple times already, if you find out that the general public, you know, or your base feels a particular way, go with that. If you want your game to be successful. I mean, what is the point of putting $400 million? And the thing is, too, is like, with that, investors are going to start to stray away from that. They're going to start to say like, yo, your characters don't look like Overwatch. They don't look like Marvel Rivals. They don't look like Stellar Blade or, you know, Tomb Raider it's a good game, but like maybe let's look back on like the originals and see why they were so popular to begin with or why people liked them. Not saying they didn't have good gameplay, but I mean, let's be honest, man. Like they have been slowly kind of like just, you know, changing over time the appearance of Lara Croft. You know, and me personally doesn't really affect me because it's whatever to me in regards to that. But I do understand there are a lot of people that they take that personally. They're like, yo, this is the character that I like. Stop changing it. Stop altering it. You can create new characters and see what happens with that. But don't try to come in here and take this character that I like and go, well, that's not realistic. It's a video game. Why should it be realistic in any aspect, way, shape, or form? That's just silly to me. There are certain games where they are designed. Like you take like a milsim, for example, a survival game where people want to play that game to have a sense of realism or whatever. Whether, you know, the same thing with like simulators, like flight simulators and stuff like that. Those are designed to be realistic. I don't play flight simulator because I get overwhelmed. I get in the plane, it's like 400 million buttons, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on here, man, you know. And then I'm just flying, it's boring, you know, I don't really know what's going on. But if you're somebody who's into flying planes, go for it. My son, he loves simulators. He's really into trains, all types of stuff like that, right? Like anything with the word sim. He even plays like farming simulator, all that kind of stuff. Pretty much anything that has simulator in it, he loves that. He doesn't really play very many like regular games. He loves simulators. You know, me and my other son though, my youngest son, he's like me. If he's gonna play something where you can drive, he wants it to be something like GTA, where it's just very simple. You get in, you go, you can easily switch cars. You know. Same thing with any other games. He likes actual, like, just games, not simulators, right? So there's a base and a market for everything, really, right? But like I said, if you're trying to market to the general public, don't be upset when the general public does not respond the way that you think they're going to respond. And don't say like, well, we're just going to keep pumping out these, you know, these games that are considered woke and stuff and just hope that people just kind of, you know, go along with it or whatever. No, man. Your feelings are going to get hurt. And like I said, the investors, they're going to stop investing eventually because investors have no feelings in any of this stuff. It's business to them, straight up business. If they're not getting what they want, which is a return on their investment, they're going somewhere that will give them the return that they're looking for. You know, so we're edging up on the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video. But let me know in the comments. Have you guys seen the trailer for Intergalactic? What do you think about it? Do you think that the character, you know, they had him out here looking crazy or had her out here looking crazy? Do you think that, you know, stuff like that doesn't matter? Do you think that's an immature mindset to have toward games? Has it not affected you one way or the other? Do you plan on playing it? Do you not plan on playing it? Let me know in the comments. Go ahead and put all that down there. Vent your frustrations, grievances, whatever. But yeah, this is Dark, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.